Yeah, driving over without gloves on. I thought, well, I got a jacket on and it's waterproof, and my hands are frozen.
Yes.
Yeah, didn't think about things.
You got used to that 80-degree weather.
Yeah.
Wow. I took my dad to
You know, one thing about
Nashville
Sandy,
on Thursday.
I'm gonna try to figure out how the heck
And
we're
I
gonna
don't
blame
think
this
we
on
Oh, it's a
President
beautiful
Bush.
day.
And we did Grundy County and Seward, Indiana, and the whole national thing. So we have Friday, and then the weather following.
Right, we went to the zoo and the kids were
But it's only a
complaining about
category
how hot
one.
they were and eating drinks and
Florida gets hit with category
No
2 and
codes.
3, and they just go
There was
to
no transition.
My granddaughter lives down in Villa Hills.
Hills.
She had soccer tournament Saturday and Sunday. And
And Ken can be there or
we
here.
were on the field, but the wind never stopped blowing. So miserable. The kids were freezing.
When was that?
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
it's all about the wind.
yeah.
Ooh, big- big-
Those are
big
worksheets just to help us. I started doing that for myself and I thought, we all need it.
That's a good idea, yes. Here the death rate all of a sudden went up to well over 100, like 5 minutes on television.
I would think most of them are Atlantic City. Well, we don't know how many were lost in that Queen City fire.
Yeah, well, they're saying probably, the one where 100 houses burned.
Yeah.
They can't find anybody yet so far. They feel good. They haven't been able to find any bodies.
So hopefully they got out, they were,
They paid attention.
Yeah.
Well, cops and firemen sometimes are the only ones that do pay attention.
right, right.
In this day and age, it just seems like,
I know.
Well, we've had a heck of a lot of catastrophes.
Yeah.
It seems like it. And is it just TV or is it just, really warm?
Governor Christie said, hey, order to evacuate them. If I happen to be right and you end up dead, that's a bad equation.
I like him telling him to get out. We can't take care of it.
Yeah.
Well, at some point in time, you're putting the first responders at too much risk.
Yeah, we just can't.
It's not fair to them,
No,
their families.
no, not at all.
back in the olden days, they didn't know, you could say they didn't know it was coming.
Right.
These days, it's
You had so
coming
much
days
warning.
before it
Yeah,
gets
they were
there.
trapped
Get
in
out.
And there's history that shows a lot of people die if you don't get out. Way,
Right.
way back when they had this in
Right.
New York,
Exactly.
70 years ago.
Yeah.
There was no history to it, and they lost
Next thing you
600
know, here
people.
comes this wave.
Darwin's
and-
law is always in effect. The dumb ones don't survive.
Although the fatality rate's pretty low, all
Well,
things considered.
Yeah, all things.
because they pay attention to get out of the house.
You know, there's a lot of homeless who live in those subways, those tunnels. I just wonder what the death, no one will know until they get in there, and see how many dead they
Right,
find in
we
there.
were coming home from CCM Saturday night, and there was a homeless guy, standing on a corner down in Clifton. And I said, Rudy, my gosh, what happens in New York City and these places where the storm's gonna hit with the homeless?
Wow, yeah.
Where are they gonna be?
Some of these guys don't. They had McDonald's with a bunch of Legionnaires every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, and there's 2 or 3 guys in there. And they slept underneath 275
Mhm.
bridges, but they're here, they're out here.
Mhm.
There's 2 guys there that just smelled out high heaven, and
Yeah.
people give them buy them their lunches and breakfast, and they do what they can. But
Mhm.
these guys are just happy with the way they are.
Right.
It's their lifestyle, and they apparently have accustomed to it. But I understand there's thousands that live in those subway tunnels.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
all,
yeah.
So, and they're all flooded, a lot of them anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That could be catastrophic.
Right. Who knows, in the next few days what they're
What they're
gonna
gonna
find.
find, yeah.
Well,
Doesn't Fred's mother live over near the shore in Maryland?
I think she does.
Maryland came out all right.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Delaware seems to be better than the
Brother-in-law's
Colorado.
mom went and grabbed her out of Margate. She retired there in the beach home. But Lucy, the elephant, is
Didn't make
still standing. I talked about that on the news. The elephant.
Well, our girl and her family just moved to South Carolina. It's a big city on the ocean. And miss them, but
It's got
that's just the beginning of a bunch of years
Yeah,
of us
anxiety.
working.
Well, this is a whole decade, they project, you know, every, 20, 30, 40 years. There's a decade that they have, where they have hurricanes on the west
She's,
or east
her
coast.
and her husband, their kids are raised, and she's smart enough to know that mom and dad are only 9, 10 hours away, and
Right.
they're not gonna mess around.
Head north.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get started. It's 3 minutes after. We have lots to do, and so I'll call the meeting to order and ask for review of the minutes from the October 9th meeting. Have you all had a chance to see them? Okay, can I have a motion to either amend them or approve them?
Well, actually, didn't Yvonne say that Laughlin was statutory?
I don't know.
I can't remember. Does anybody remember that?
One of us does statutory, Wyoming, I think, was charter,
Woodlawn is charter.
or Woodland.
So
Okay,
Laughlin may be statutory.
okay. We'll double check with her about that, so,
And everything else is
So we
okay.
would just change Laughlin to a statute.
Well, we'll talk to Yvonne and
Yeah,
see
double
which is
check.
which. Yeah. Anything else?
Can a motion be made pending clarification of that, or will we have to wait till next month?
I think we can approve it pending clarification on that
Yeah.
point. Yeah. All in favor? All right. And we will check with her and change that or amend that. All right. Okay, I double checked with Fred Merle today because I'm starting to look at the big picture of what our journey is here, and I wanted a deadline. When's our deadline? When did the clock start ticking? And we have 6 months, we know that. And he believes that the clock started ticking when we were announced at council, which was in early July.
July, August, September, October, November, December, we gotta be done by January.
So, as we talked about it, I talked to him about thinking it was August 1st, because we didn't get started till August 29th. I said, can we count from there? He said, I don't think so. So he's gonna get that clarified, but he agreed with me that our deadline is February 1st unless he calls me differently. So he's gonna go back through all the minutes and he'll let us know.
Let's assume the worst and you go on.
That's right, and so, here's what I'm planning on doing, and you see the summary of information. What I did, and this is gonna be kind of a reference sheet for us, I strictly went back through all of the minutes and double checked them with my notes, and I listed all of the articles or sections where any of our guest authorities commented or made comments that they thought we should look at. And then up at the top of the first page, the general thoughts were taken primarily from Jeff Forbes. And it ends with a reminder that our suggestions or recommendations will be made to council. Council may submit any, all, or none of our recommendations to go into the ballot for approval by the electorate. And so that's always one of those good things for us to keep in mind, that we know and are aware of.
I think you also remember the fact that if you batch them all together in one, and the council throws it out to the electorate as one batch, there's a high probability it's gonna be turned down because someone's not gonna
Right.
like one of those. So we might wanna make a recommendation, of making separate recommendations. And if they wanna throw it together, let them do it, but it won't be our.
Yeah, exactly, right, exactly. So I've given you those things, and the approach that I've chosen for us to take, unless you all throw up your arms and walk out and refuse, is to have us go through. This is determined mainly because we all learn differently. We all absorbed information differently, but we're gonna read the whole charter aloud. One person will read a paragraph. We have 4 questions, it's a filter. We'll ask each one, and if we go through that, our capable secretary is gonna give it a green light or star it as something we have to come back and work on. So, and we'll go right around the table. I figured that we have 64 sections to read. There's 11 articles and 64 sections. And so if we were gonna do it in 2 meetings, the first reading through, we would have to do 32 tonight and 32 the next time, or maybe 25 now and more the next time. But because of that, we're not going to get into big, long discussions. We'll answer these filter questions, make a few notes, maybe a very brief discussion tonight, but we want to keep it moving, and we want to get through the whole reading in this month, the month of November.
When are we going to
Yeah.
discuss it?
We'll come back around for a second reading, and
So
a second time through.
I can use my copy to highlight what areas we feel we need to go back.
Right. Because
Discuss.
we'll come back and really discuss and zero in on those things that we know we're gonna have to work on. And then at the very end, we'll probably work on cleaning up the wording, you know, on the last trip around before we make a report to council.
And I respect the suggestions, we have a short deadline. We meet more than twice a month. I think if we're gonna do this right, and we're gonna do it once every 10 years,
Mhm.
whether we like it or not, because of the deadline, we might be stuck with doing it 2 or 3 times, not just 2 times a month, but 3 times a month to get through it.
Maybe.
Because some of these things are gonna go through quick, but to some of them, there's gonna be some questions
I
on
agree,
it.
yeah.
Why don't we just play with it tonight and see how far we get?
Well, that's why I thought this will be kind of a good dry run
Yeah.
tonight a little bit, but we need to allow time. As Thad said, we don't want to, you know, be smashed up against the wall and working under duress and know that we have to meet every night for 1 week or something in order to get it finished. So I'd rather have us pacing ourselves pretty good. And as Heidi said the last meeting, the holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
And so we can't take a month off, we know that, but we at least might be able to reduce it to 2 times that month. The other problem with not meeting on a regular basis is our memory is not good. While we're into it, tonight we're gonna get started, and once we get our heads into it, it's good to keep it going that way. So, what we'd like to do is get started that way, and then,
Could I ask some
Sure.
clarifying things?
mhm.
First reading, are we going to do this section by section?
We're gonna go from the front to the back. We're gonna go straight through the charter.
Given you gave us a homework assignment of
We're-
3
the
sections,
first
why don't we
three-
do the 3 sections?
Well, we will, because that's the first 3. So we're starting at the
So
beginning.
tonight we're doing the first 3.
Yes. And maybe more, depends on how well we do. So,
Well, I stopped reading at the start of
oh,
yours.
well, we're gonna read it out loud. We're gonna read out loud, so, because I would have been willing to lay money on the fact that not all of us read all 3. You know, people don't always do their assignments, so. Anyway,
I fell asleep in the week.
yeah, and then for future meetings, I think we need to agree on a regular time and try to kind of stick to it. And do we want to continue to try evenings? Do we want to try Saturday mornings? We've talked about both.
Evenings are okay, Saturday mornings sometimes become problematic.
I have far more evenings available than I do Saturday mornings.
Okay.
And teacher, I did bring my ski.
I'm proud of you. You're doing
Did I
better.
get a gold
than-
star?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, what is Tuesday night the best night for all of us? Wednesday night? We've met on Wednesday nights and Tuesday nights.
I can't do Wednesdays.
No Wednesdays, okay.
What
You
about
just tell
Thursday
me,
night?
and
What?
if it's on my
Thursday
birthday
nights
or
would be good, because we don't have any,
Christmas, I'll be there.
there's no council meetings on Thursday nights.
Mhm.
Usually a dead night on television, and there's no football games on Thursday, or baseball, or very few, so.
Obviously, I'm not a Grey's Anatomy fan, but
You might have to make a few sacrifices
Yeah.
anyway.
I'll go with the flu, I'm just free.
Okay.
Go with
David.
flu, right?
That's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do I
It's
need?
good for our,
Could we do
as long as it's after 6
November-
p.m. or-
Thursday, November 8th, and Tuesday, November 13th, just to get two in real quick?
I could do those.
That's a possibility.
Just
The
to,
8th and the 13th,
Okay, at what, 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock. Okay. And what about a third one, maybe after Thanksgiving?
And what, excuse me, what day of the week is that?
so Thursday, November 8th, and Tuesday,
The
November
13th.
Thursdays, right? Are they both
No,
Thursdays?
Thursday
The
is,
8th is a Thursday?
Uh-huh.
yeah,
13th is a Tuesday.
Okay. And is it 13th or 16th?
13th.
The problem after the 16th is I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks on vacation.
Should we allow him to take a vacation?
I don't think he has a job, I don't know why he needs a vacation.
Right.
His car is always in the driveway, always.
what about November 27th? That's still.
You're gonna be
No,
gone then?
I'm gonna be back probably the 2nd of December, 2nd or 3rd of December.
What about if we did the 13th and the 15th,
Of
November?
13th and the 15th.
why were
Tuesday
you
and
dropping
Thursday.
the 8th?
I mean, 2 days that
No,
week?
because he can't do anything else in November after the,
Oh, do 8th and 13th and 15th?
Yeah.
yeah.
15th, that'd be all right.
Okay,
Okay.
Mhm.
okay. And then going into December, you're back.
Usually, I think by the 3rd would be safe to say.
I'd rather we get 2 in early in December because then it gets just impossible.
If you don't get them in early,
How about the
they
6th
won't
of
get 'em in.
December
That's okay.
and that next week, one
6th is Thursday?
Thursday? And then either the 11th, which is a Tuesday.
I
Okay.
can do 11, I can't do 13.
11th is a Tuesday? Okay,
I can do that on Tuesday, yeah.
yeah. The 6th and 11th of December
The 6th is a Tuesday?
The
Thursday.
6th,
is a
Thursday,
Thursday.
and then what's the other
Sixth
day?
is,
Is a
11th.
Tuesday.
The 11th is
a
Tuesday.
11th is Tuesday.
Okay, let's try to, we'll get those
I
on our
can shoot
calendars.
these, I can shoot this out in an email,
Yeah,
Okay.
like right away.
okay.
All right.
And if we can do those, I think we'd be in a good position to hang it up until early January for
Yeah.
final work.
We might have 4 or 5 meetings in January though, depending how far we get.
Yeah, well, we're gonna roll,
Whatever has to happen, it's gonna have to happen, we'll have to do it.
yeah.
College football's important.
Okay, what I'd like to do is this. I'd like us to get started and just go around the table. You don't get rated for how well you read or how your inflection is. We don't care about any of that. We do care about reading
Act
it.
it out.
And then we'll ask the 4 questions. And the first one is, what is the purpose of this section? So we're gonna start there with the preamble. And, Ken, will you start and read the preamble?
We, the citizens of the village of Greenhills, a community to which all people of goodwill are welcome, in order to fully secure and exercise the benefits of local self-government, do ordain and establish this charter for the government of the village of Greenhills.
And the purpose of that is?
State the purpose of the charter.
Is it clearly stated?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it current with present practices?
Yeah, I would say so.
Is it needed or necessary?
I think so.
necessary to kind of define
what this is.
what we are,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll give that a go as is. Article 1, Section 101, incorporation. Mick?
The present municipality, known as the Village of Greenhills, Ohio, shall continue to be a body of politic and corporate under the name of the Village of Greenhills, with the same boundaries, but with the powers and authority to change its boundaries and annex other territory continuous thereto in the manner authorized by the laws of the state of Ohio. No territory shall be detached from the municipality, nor the municipality be annexed to any other municipality without the consent of a majority of municipal electors voting on such question. Such question shall be submitted to the electors only at a general election in such manners as the council shall be resolution or ordinance prescribes.
All right, the purpose of this.
Just to not allow some people just to move boundaries around and sell property.
It kind of defines the community, its boundaries, and its, whether it can be added to or,
And controls its abuse of selling, et cetera.
So in other words, for example, this would mean like neither Springfield Township nor Forest Park could
Take us in.
take
without-
us in without consent.
Mhm.
Although maybe we should ask Jeff, just thinking of that, since you mentioned that. I don't think Springfield Township, because it's a township, fits the definition of municipality.
Right.
So that maybe we should consider, depending on what Jeff says, changing that last municipality in there to any other government.
In case that leaves the door open
But
for
those
Springfield
loophole is
Township.
saying
You would
we're
have-
not that.
Yeah.
You would have to dissolve the Village of Green Hills for that to happen, because we're incorporated. Township is not.
Right. Although they have, since this was written, changed the township laws so they can develop some forms of home rule if they.
If they choose to do so.
Yeah.
They haven't done that yet. Even if they do, there's still a separation between the two. But we can ask Jeff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
we
make
can
sure.
ask to just, all right.
So that would be the very last line, any other municipality, we might want to say any other government, we want to clarify.
Governmental entity.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that, maybe. And it may not be worth
Clarify.
clarifying.
Anything else?
I think primarily it was a typographical error, but it should be body politic and incorporated under the name of the Village of Green Hills. It says corporate, it should be incorporated, I think. It's
Right, there's a
basically
difference
housekeeping,
between
housekeeping.
corporate and incorporated.
Okay, good.
I don't see
Anything
anything
else?
else in that.
Okay, and it's pretty clearly stated, the whole thing. And we're talking about present practices, so that municipality might relate to that. Is it needed or necessary?
I think,
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right, section 102, powers. The Village of Green Hills shall have all the powers of local self-government and the benefits of municipal home rule that may now or hereafter be lawfully possessed or exercised by the municipal corporations under the Constitution of the State of Ohio. All such powers shall be exercised in the manner prescribed in this charter, or to the extent that the manner is not prescribed herein, in such manner as shall be provided by ordinance or resolution of the council. Any such ordinance or rule shall supersede and override state statutes. Purpose of this.
To keep us in what our, as the village, that we can make our own decisions outside of the state. That's what they were talking about, the lawyer, was talking to us about, that we have the right to
self-government.
tweak our own laws sort of
Mhm.
in the village.
And if it's not addressed in the charter, council has the ability to set it.
Right.
To some extent, yeah.
Okay.
It's necessary, I think, because Ohio's a home rule state,
Mhm.
and historically, this amendment, the Ohio Constitution was amended 1911 and 1912, it set out a home rule amendment, which authorized this. It's been around over 100 years now.
Mhm.
But since that's the enabling statute under the Constitution, you almost have to indicate that you're exercising that right.
Right. Mhm.
The only question I have is at the very end, and override state statutes, I would add, or permitted by law. And the reason I say that, generally speaking, under the Home Rule Amendment, a large number of statutes are overridden by the charter, but it's not total. As remember, Jeff went through that with us, that there are some exceptions. So I think just to cover everything, to say we're permitted by law, and that way it's a general catch-all, and would help. Because otherwise, I don't see any problem. Maybe someone else sees something.
Okay, good, good comments.
Ready for the next
Okay.
one?
Mhm. David?
Okay, form of government. The form of government provided in this charter shall be known as mayor, council, manager plan. The powers of the municipal government shall be distributed among the municipality, the electorate, and the various elected and appointed officials, and boards and commissions as provided under the provisions of this charter.
Okay. So this defines in names, actually, the form of government. It's clearly stated. Is it current with present practices?
Yes?
And is it needed or necessary?
It's necessary, again, going back to the Ohio Constitution, you set it out, you're indicating that you're enabling yourself underneath that home rule authority.
Okay.
It's just a continuation of it, in my opinion. Someone else may disagree.
Well, that's
And
good.
it defines on how we are organized, because some charters are council manager
Mhm.
forms of government. But since we elect the mayor, that's why it was spelled out in this manner.
Mhm.
And the state statutes set out at least three separate forms of government you can use. And since we're doing something different than all of them concern, maybe bits and pieces of it, we have to have that set out.
Okay, good.
We're allowed to do what we're doing, but we better explain what we're doing.
Right. Okay, Article 2, Section 2.01. Heidi?
Member terms, qualifications of council. Council shall consist of 6 members to be elected from the municipality. At large on a partisan ballot to serve overlapping 4-year terms. There shall be a councilmatic, is that right?
Mhm.
Councilmatic election held every 2 years. Members of council shall be sworn into office the first meeting of January of the year following their election. Previously elected council persons shall serve until the end of their terms. At the municipal general election to be held in November 1989.
That's when it was first started.
Oh.
You know,
Oh.
when this was written.
Oh, when this is written, yeah. The 4 persons elected shall serve the following terms. A, the 3 elected council persons receiving the greatest number of votes shall serve 4 terms. B, the 4th elected.
4-year terms.
4-year terms. Oh, 4-year terms. B, the 4th elected council person shall serve a 2-year term. Thereafter, all members of council shall be elected to terms of 4 years each. Members of council shall have been qualified electors of the municipality for at least 12 consecutive months immediately prior to the time of filing as candidates for the office of council. They shall remain qualified electors and residents thereof throughout their term of office, and shall hold no other elective public office. No member of council shall be employed by the municipality. Any member of council who ceases to possess or violate any of the qualifications therein provided shall forfeit the office. Failure to maintain qualifications or removal from office shall not render void nor invalidate any action of council in which such member participated.
Good. All right, the purpose of this.
It's defining the council.
Yeah,
Nice. And your terms and staggering terms.
yeah.
Mm-hmm,
And the start.
It's fairly stated.
mm-hmm.
It's current. It's to a large extent needed. I do have a question though, because it may be superfluous at this point in time. That part dealing with at the municipal election to be held in November 1989, up through A and B, may be superfluous at this point, because we've had that
Right.
election.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
So
that
we may
was
not need it.
20 years ago or
Well,
whatever.
what it does is it establishes the pattern and it shows how they started it,
Right.
you know, so
From a
that it's
historical
staggered,
standpoint,
yeah.
but it's not
But, yeah,
totally necessary now.
it's confusing to anybody that's not familiar with
Yeah.
it.
Members of council with qualified electors, that's no problem. All members shall be elected to terms of 4 years each. That's no problem.
Mhm.
I just would, you might wanna look at it, I don't wanna argue about it now.
Right,
Yeah,
It's
okay.
something to look at, because it may be superfluous, since that election has now been held, and we're now in a staggered term.
Mhm.
It's just a cleanup thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a house cleaning thing.
Would we
Yeah.
need to then look at changing to the current year, because you have to keep, you wouldn't want to do
No,
anything
no,
to make
what we
it-
would do is we'd probably just word it a little bit differently, so it shows that everybody has a 4-year term and that they run for office at staggered.
I would think you could just delete the paragraph that starts previously elected,
Yeah,
all the way through till thereafter, all members of council, because that's all more than 10 years old history.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, B,
Still have to-
yeah, we're gonna have to work on it, but this is one that will star this, that we need to kind of look at cleanup. Okay.
My only other thing that came to mind, and I'm assuming even though the mayor doesn't have to be a resident, council members do, correct?
no, the mayor,
Mayor
it's in
has-
his
Not the
section.
mayor, I'm sorry, the village manager.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's not.
That doesn't
That's not
qualify.
his
We'll
section.
get it, yeah.
So
Okay,
that would be the only.
Yeah.
That's gonna have to be dealt with in another section.
okay, I didn't know if that applied to council.
No, but it's coming out, yeah. Yeah, council members have to live in the village,
Okay, so they do,
yeah,
in the start, okay.
yeah.
It'll be a coming attraction.
Any other comments before we go on?
yeah, any council member who ceases to possess or violates any of the qualifications herein, is that talking about not living, about moving
Yeah,
out?
it could be that, it could be a number of,
Or is that clarified somewhere else as far as what those violations might be?
Later on, or
Is it in there?
malfeasance.
There's a different,
misfeasance or
there's a
something
different
like
section
that.
dealing with removal.
With the
Yeah.
removed,
That's
yeah,
way at the
okay,
end.
yeah, okay,
yeah,
This is just the initial, from the
Okay.
beginning.
all right.
the
A,
basic qualifications
Yeah.
are that they have to have lived here 12 months, and, yeah. Okay, Ready to go on?
2.02, compensation of council. Ordinances presently in force establishing salaries shall remain in effect for the first charter council and thereafter be established by council according to their rules of organization. Compensation of the council member shall not be changed during the term for which such council member was elected or appointed.
okay. The purpose, to state the compensation of council.
Yeah, newly elected can't give themselves a raise.
Right,
Right.
right,
I think that's
That's good.
good. That's good.
yeah.
the only time that might be unfair is say you're newly elected, they run for a 4-year term,
Mm-hmm,
and you raise the salary. And for the people, you have a staggered term. So the
Oh.
people in the 2-year term, they're gonna get a raise in a year and a half, 2 years. But the person in the beginning of the 4-year term, they're not gonna see a raise for 4 years. Now, that's part of the game, but I
Right,
just,
you know that going into it, you know, you're.
I don't
And we
think,
did that in the past, and they lived with it.
mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's going into that for the money you get in it.
Pardon?
I think we were at $1,200 and raised it to $2,000 maybe
No, I don't know.
25 years ago, 20 years ago.
Every time you're reelected, a new car showed up in
I
your
think
front
they
yard.
Me too,
I didn't notice you stay
I think for what you get on council, you get enough money to pay gas, to get you down to the soup kitchen.
Well, and to contribute to the concerts on the commons, to contribute to flowers for everybody for something and all these other causes, it eats it right up.
To the people who passed stuff
I've
around
got a relative on
election time.
council, I think she's in the hole right now.
Okay. Anyways, it's clearly stated, we're comfortable with that,
Yeah,
and it is necessary, and it's present practices. Okay, Thad, 203.
meetings of council and committees of council. Council shall meet at such times as set by its rules, but not less than once a month. A majority of all members elected shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a lesser number may adjourn by majority vote from day to day, compel the attendance of absent members in such manner as provided by the rules of council. Except in a case of emergency declared by the mayor, no special meeting may be called unless notice provided by the rules of council be given thereof at least 12 hours in advance of such meeting. All meetings of council and committees of council shall be open to the public except as otherwise provided in the revised code, Ohio Revised Code.
Mhm.
And I think you were doing primarily with executive sessions there.
Right. Mhm. All right, the purpose of this,
I think it's pretty clear when you're gonna have your meetings, what constitutes a quorum. And it gives enough flexibility for less than a majority, or at least a lesser than a full quorum to do something in case of emergency. You can compel attendance of absent members, that's a necessity. The only question, everyone else may have their own questions, the only question I have is, no special meeting may be called unless notice provided by the rules of council be given thereof at least 12 hours in advance of such meeting. I don't know if that conflicts with any current state law or not. You might want to check with Forbes on that, because if it does, we may want to amend the charter to conform to state law, because this may or may not be one of those areas where the charter can supersede state law and it may not, because we have an open meetings law in Ohio.
Well, isn't 12 hours, I mean, I was thinking of the same sentence, but 12 hours is far too short of a notice in my mind.
It is.
well, but once in a while, there's something that does occur that you've got to get everybody together and,
Well,
Make a decision fast.
except in case of emergency declared by the mayor. I mean, my employer, the board has a 5-day notice requirement before we can have a meeting.
Yeah, but I think it may be set out by corporate
Mhm.
statute.
Well, no,
revised code.
I realize there's a different form, but.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I think worth asking
We'll ask
Jeff.
Jeff.
I know the mayor has not, I don't ever recall any kind of an emergency special meeting the mayor has called. I think we've used the 12-hour thing. And one case that I remember is when they were gonna close the library,
Mhm.
and we rushed in a quick meeting to be held just on the library issue. So we could start taking action,
But
trying to lobby the
considered,
library.
that wasn't considered an emergency?
Well,
There-
I
there's
don't.
It
not
really
enough-
was an emergency,
But
but
say that we may have to ask
Yes.
Jeff's, his determination of an emergency declared by the mayor. I'm not sure how much flexibility,
I don't
The
think
mayor
there's a
has
definition
for
of what
making-
an
yeah.
emergency
Yeah.
is, so it's pretty wide open.
okay.
Just have Jeff check, there's no reason to go into court unnecessarily.
yeah.
Well, I asked him, that's what I asked him to do before he came, was to double check that there are no areas of our charter that are in conflict with state law, as it is today.
Yeah, but it's not something that would jump out at you.
Mhm.
Well, I think of an example of if this hurricane struck here, like, the windstorm or
Took a turn or
hurricane,
something, yeah.
and there was some type of a emergency where some decisions needed to be
We could
made
do
for the
that.
safety of our community and.
Yeah, under the statute as it reads, we can do that, that's an emergency.
Right.
That is
Right.
But something other than emergency, a special meeting,
Right.
12 hours is kind of a short fuse.
Well, I remember calling a couple, but I can't tell you what they were, I can't remember, but at the time, I requested a meeting, and we squeezed it in 12 hours, but it was a short thing, and if you have people traveling on business and so on, you have to, it's hard to do it. So I think that keeps you from doing it unnecessarily or frivolously.
Maybe just have Jeff look it
Yeah.
over, and
Okay,
if there's no problem with it, if it's not broken, we don't fix it.
right, okay.
And we probably, in the time that I was here, maybe did that since the charter was initiated 2 or 3 times at the most. The library's the only one I remember, for sure.
I remember
We
that.
did that.
Mhm. And that was because we were coping with the library board meeting. We had to be ready to get down
Yeah,
into the
right,
library
right.
board meeting downtown. And it kind of
I know there was one other thing, but I
Snuck up
can't
on us.
remember.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. All right, are we ready to go on to 04? Ken, back to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can we go back to 03?
Okay.
Majority of all members elected shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a lesser number may adjourn by majority vote from day to day and compel the attendance of absent members in such manner as provided by the rules of council. What is that talking about?
Basically, what that means is, if you get enough people here, they don't have enough for quorum, some business has to be done. They can meet, adjourn the meeting, and compel the attendance of enough people, so you have a quorum. That's,
So in effect, it's calling people in and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the meeting?
Yeah.
Force their attendance.
And we
And you
haven't.
keep the meeting open to get them here.
Yeah, we haven't really had that, but it is possible that you have people that are elected and slack off a little bit. I mean, we've had really good council members, but it is possible that you'd have people that just don't show or forget the meetings too often. And
Well,
it
we
cripples the council.
Called people at home and said, hey, did you
Yeah.
forget the council meeting?
We have,
Yes, they
yeah.
did.
And we
Came
say,
in.
get over here. Yeah, yes, we have. But it keeps it from crippling councils, progress.
Teleconferences then are taking its place?
The state law
No.
doesn't allow it.
Can't do that.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It'd be nice.
On a night like
No,
this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have an open meeting with the telecom.
No.
It's gotta be an open meeting.
No.
Yeah, we've had cases where we've had council members that had had surgery and were home, but couldn't get out to attend a meeting. It would have been great if you were able to do a
Technically,
teleconference.
you probably could adjourn the meeting and
Go to their house.
house or something.
These
You'd
days,
have to
you
get
just
more
set your little
call-outs
screen
on
up
this.
there and.
We've had some come in after
You'd be right
surgery
there
that
at the
shouldn't have,
meeting.
that came in because of that.
We should probably just move on.
Okay.
2.04, role of the mayor and veto power. The mayor shall serve as president of council. The mayor has the right to propose or address legislation that is not considered a member of council. The mayor shall preside at all meetings of council, but shall have no vote therein, except in the case of a tie vote. The mayor shall have no veto power over resolutions and ordinances.
Purpose?
I think it sets out what the powers under our charter are for the mayor, because if you go to the revised code, more authority is given to a mayor. But you're restricting the power of the mayor under this section, which you can, with your charter. So you've got to set out how you're restricting his power, which is okay, because this is what you want, and if this is what everybody wants, this is the way it should be. I think the only time that the mayor has ever had to break a tie vote was with the pit bull ordinance. I talked to prior mayor, and he said he never had to use it in 20 years he was mayor. And Fred was sweating it, but he had to make the big decision.
Well, it was Fred's original baby, before he was mayor. He kind of introduced that ordinance, did all the research on it and everything.
It was fun to watch him sweat.
Okay, all right. This is necessary. It is current with our present policies. practices. Is it stated clearly?
Yeah.
Probably as clearly as can be. Yeah. Okay, let's go on.
All legislative power of the municipality shall be vested in council, except as otherwise provided by this charter and the Constitution of the State of Ohio. Without limitation of the foregoing, the council shall have and possesses the following powers. You want these
Yes.
one at a time?
Well, just,
Okay, just go with all of them?
yeah, unless we stop you.
The power to levy taxes and incur debts subject to the limitation imposed thereon by this charter and the Constitution of the State of Ohio. B, the power to adopt and to provide for the enforcement of such local police, sanitary, and other similar regulations as are not in conflict with the general laws. The power to provide for the exercise of all powers of self-government granted in the municipality by the Constitution of the State of Ohio in a manner consistent with this charter or the Constitution of the State of Ohio. The power to establish the number of employees and officers in the various offices, departments, divisions, bureaus, boards, commissions of the municipality, and to fix the rate of their compensation, hours of work, and to provide such fringe bennies as may be deemed proper by the council. The power to require such bonds as in the opinion of the council are necessary for the faithful discharge of the duties of the officers and employees of the municipality. The power to create other offices, departments, divisions, bureaus, boards, and commissions, and the power to combine, change, and abolish any office, department, division, bureau, board, or commission. The council shall not abolish the offices of manager, mayor, president of council, clerk of council, council members, or law director. The manager may hold such other offices and positions with the municipalities as are provided by this charter or as the council may authorize by a vote of the majority of its members.
Okay. And the purpose of this is to lay out real clear the powers of council. Does it do that? Is it clearly
We
stated?
also have a next page.
We're only on that.
Oh, let's stop there. Let's just take this
I was
one.
just revved up.
We're just, right, just getting started.
I always like to see a pharmacist go on.
Okay. To this point, are they clearly stated?
Seems to make sense to me.
Okay. And it is necessary to line out the powers of council. Any questions about it or anything that you're lingering with? Do you want to keep going, Nick?
Anyway.
Since you're rolling?
Okay, all right.
Gee.
The power, G, the power by ordinance to control the development or use of land within the corporate limits and to regulate construction thereon, except council shall not have the power to amend any of the provisions of the Greenhills zoning code with respect to the Green Belt District. Council shall not have the power to vacate the public use of the commons area, and council shall not have the power to permit any change of use of the golf course without submission to and approval of a majority of the electorate. Non-use shall not constitute a change. H, to provide without competitive bidding for an annual or a special independent audit of any or all municipal funds. Such audits may be in addition to such audits by the representatives of the state auditor or other state officials or agency as may be determined to be required under the Constitution of the State of Ohio. The power to acquire title to or interest in real and personal property shall be vested in council, whether such property is acquired by the exercise of power of eminent domain, purchase, gift, lease with option to purchase, device, bequest, entrust, or otherwise. The power to sell or otherwise convey, lease with options to purchase, or grant interest to real property shall be vested in the council. Such sale, conveyance, lease, or grant shall be in the manner as provided by the ordinance authorize the sale, conveyance, lease, or grant. Title to all real property shall be taken in the name of the municipality. The power to adopt the annual budget and appropriation measures of the municipality. The power to appoint or approve the members of all boards and commissions created by the charter or by the enactments of council as provided herein. The power to accept gifts and grants to and on behalf of the municipality. The power to inquire into the conduct of any officer, employee, agent, or independent contractor in the exercise of their powers, duties, or functions, or in their performance of work or services or provisions of equipment, material, or supplies to or on behalf of the municipality. And to inquire into and investigate any and all municipal affairs. In the exercise of this power, the council shall have the power to subpoena, witness, require the production of records and other evidence in the manner provided in the rules, regulations, or bylaws of council. And in the absence of such provision, the mayor, president, that's one thing, of council shall have the power to issue subpoenas for witnesses and production of records and other evidence. The power to exercise or provide for the exercise of all other powers granted to the legislative authorities of municipalities by the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and the exercise of all other powers granted to the council by and under this charter. The power to select and to remove the law director.
Thank you. Thought we were gonna have to go get you some water.